Welcome to our podcast, You're Entitled to Our Opinion, where we delve into the Christian life, the Bible, and pretty much anything that's happening in the world today.
But more than just our opinion, we want to share truth that just might change your life.
Now, we don't claim to have all the answers, but we know who does. And our goal is to give him a chance to make a difference in your life.
I'm Jay Scribner.
And I'm Tom Johnson.
And you are entitled to our opinion. Hey, how do you get tar from here?
I don't know. Hang on. There we go. The camera has a glitch in there. I've got something I want to share this morning. Oh, we're gonna have fun today. Parables and illustrations is the theme, but I found something here that just cracked me up, and it's called the hymns of the lukewarm church. And let me just share a couple with you. And welcome to our podcast. So here we go. All right. A comfy mattress is our God. Wait. I surrender some. Wait. Jesus likes me, I hope so. And there's the other favorite is Take My Life and Let Me Be. Hymns of the lukewarm
That's
church.
it. That's pretty good.
Oh, so much fun. But, you've been preaching for how many years in your life?
103.
I think, and between the two of us, it probably will add up to that. But you know what? Some of the best sermons have some of the best illustrations. And that's what we're going to do today, is share some of our more favorite illustrations.
I love to tell stories. And use them to prove a point.
Uh-huh.
And what is the definition of a parable? It's an earthly story with a heavenly meaning.
Oh, yeah.
And boy, Jesus was the master storyteller, I think.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah,
you got that scripture?
I ran across this verse years and years ago, and it's from Mark chapter 4, verses 33 and 34, and it says this, "And with many such parables spoke he the word unto them."
Uh-huh.
And they were, but they were as they were. Let me get it read right here.
Yeah. "With
many such parables spoke he the word unto them, as they were able to hear it.
Uh-huh.
But without a parable he did not speak unto them. And when they were alone, he expounded all things to his disciples."
Uh-huh.
And so he just must have been a master storyteller. And as you read the Gospels, you got to come away saying he was.
He really was.
He really was.
Yeah.
You can see him sitting with a Sermon on the Mount, saying things like, well, consider the birds of the air.
Uh-huh.
Not only can you see Jesus sitting there on that hillside,
Mm-hmm.
but you can see him pointing. There had to be birds flying around right there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then he'd reach down and he'd say, consider the lilies of the field.
Yep.
You can just see that. Or you can see him in Samaria when he says to this woman at midday, give me something to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there they are at the well, and then he says to her, after they dialogue, he says, would you like some living water?
Yep.
And you can just see that Jesus wove the common things of everyday life into his teachings.
Yep.
And so that prompted me, and again, I like telling stories anyway, but that prompted me to be deliberate about looking for stories that prove a point biblically.
That's great. Well, I'm going to get it started then because we're going to share some of our favorites.
Yep.
And this one is about fleeing evil. And you can talk about fleeing evil. But one of the best stories that I ever heard was the chauffeur test. And the chauffeur test was just this. A man was interviewing for chauffeurs to drive his boss. And the boss was, well-to-do. Wherever he went, somebody drove him there. Well, he had 3 applicants. And he said this. This was his test. He said, you're driving on a mountain road. And there's no guardrail on the road there. And there's a 1,000-foot drop on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And he says, how close do you think you can come to the edge of that road without falling off? And one guy scratches his chin. He says, I think I could get about 12 inches away and I wouldn't be a problem. And the other guy goes, that's nothing. I could get 6 inches away. And the third guy looks and he says, sir, you tell me how far away you want me to stay from that edge, and that's where I'll drive. And I love that story. It's because it's not how close you can come to danger, to evil. Stay away as far as you can. So the chauffeur test. Chauffeur test is one of them. So what do you got there?
Well, probably my all-time favorite illustration or story, and it's a true story. I find this interesting, Tom, that preachers, and I've done this a lot, I've said, this is a true story. Well, one time I said that. I said, this is a true story. Now, everything else I've told you today is a lie, but this is a true story.
All right.
Okay, so this is a true story, and it's a story about Larry Walters.
Okay.
Ever since Larry was a kid, he wanted to fly. That's all he ever dreamed about, just ever since he was real young. He went through high school, and by the end of high school, he had already signed up for the Air Force because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to fly.
Yeah.
That's all. And so sure enough, he went to the Air Force. Well, because of some physical limitation, Larry never even made it into an airplane. He was assigned a desk job, his entire hitch in the Air Force. But he craved flying. He wanted to fly. He got out of the Air Force. He lived in the Los Angeles area.
Okay.
And he got a job on an assembly line. But he would go home at night, and he'd sit in his chase lounge and look up at the sky, and he'd watch the planes fly over. And he'd just dream about flying. That's all he ever wanted to do. So one day after work, he stops at a local Army-Navy surplus store, and he bought him 54 helium balloons, big helium balloons. And he stopped and got a tank of helium. He went home. He tied those balloons to his chase lounge, and he fills those balloons up. He anchors his chase lounge to his patio and to the bumper of his truck. He goes in and he gets a pellet rifle and he gets a couple of drinks and fixes him a couple of sandwiches, puts them in a bag, sits down on his chase lounge with these balloons all filled up, and he cuts the rope from the patio and the bumper of his truck. And so Larry has it planned that he's just going to float lazily up, and he's finally going to get to fly. And he's going to finally do what he just craved to do his entire life. Well, it backfired a little bit on him because he didn't float lazily up. He shot up and up and up and up. He was several thousand feet up.
Wow. And
he's thinking to himself, man, I can't shoot these balloons out now because I'll really fly. Well, he gets into the upper air currents, and he is moved over into the approach corridor of the Los Angeles International Airport.
Oh.
All right, now it was a Pan Am pilot that first spotted Larry. And Tom, I would have loved to have heard the exchange between the tower and the cockpit. I mean, you can just imagine. That is affirmative. I did say Chase Lounge. That would be a negative. I have not been drinking. Well, it does appear to be a pellet rifle. And so you can just imagine that exchange. Sure. All right, so they immediately, in emergency, they dispatch a helicopter in order to try to get Larry out of that approach corridor. Mm-hmm. Well, the downdraft of the helicopter actually moves Larry out to sea. Wow. And at this point, they now have to involve the Navy. Mm-hmm. Well, also by this point, it's becoming well known because they put it on the news that there's this guy that's been in the approach corridor in a Chase Lounge. So it's become a human interest story. People are starting to gather at the airport. Television crews are coming. But now, in order to get Larry down, they have to have 5 helicopters. They have to have 4 to equalize the downdraft. And they have to have 1 helicopter to lower a safety person down, a rescue person, in order to get Larry out of the Chase Lounge. They get Larry into the helicopter, and they bring Larry finally down to terra firma. Well, he is met there with hundreds of well-wishers and people that are interested in this human interest story. But he's also met there by the FBI because he's violated these international laws. So they get Larry in the back of a squad car and they take him down to the Los Angeles Police Department for interrogation. And they get him in this room, but here's what they say. They say to Larry, why? Why? Larry, why would you do something like this? Now, Tom, his response to me is profound.
Okay.
To me, it's probably one of the best answers that's ever been given to any question from anybody in all of history. They say to Larry Walters, Larry, why? Why did you do this? And Larry said to them, well, you can't just sit there. Now,
the story better have a point. Come on.
Well, at this point, I look people in the face when I'm preaching and I say to them, you can't just sit there. I know you want to be captain of the pew patrol, but you can't just sit there. We got too many people in church that are just sitting there. You need to be like Larry Walters. You can't just sit there. Isn't that great? I love that story. I just love it.
That's quite a story. Oh, my. That had to have been experienced just for many people.
And look it up. Google it. Larry Walters.
Larry Walters.
California.
Oh, it's awesome.
Chase Lounge. Helium balloons.
There you go. Well, another one of my favorites is by a guy named Bill Britton. And I've edited it. It's a long story, but it's the story about the difference between freedom and liberty. And it was really, really cool. It's about 2 colts that are lassoed and brought into a corral. And they're running around, they're kicking the slats, and they're trying to get away. But finally they settle down. And the trainer comes in and begins to work with them. And one of the horses submits to the trainer. The other one just wants to get out of there in the worst way. He wants freedom. And so eventually he finds his way out. He runs off into the field. The other horse stays. And time goes on, and the horse that stayed is fed and trained and groomed to be the lead horse of the king's carriage. It's really cool. And so as he's there, his brother horse is out there gallivanting in the fields and just having a great time. And he keeps looking back at the corral and he's going, my poor brother. He doesn't have freedom. I have freedom. Well, then a famine comes. And that horse out in the field, now the water holes are drying up and the grass is drying up. And he's running here and there looking just to survive. And he runs close to the road, and here's the king's carriage, and his brother is in the very front. And he's got the harness on, he's got the pom-poms on, and his coat is brushed, his mane is woven, he looks so good. And his brother says, why do you look so good and I'm here struggling? And the brother horse says this, in my master's corral, there is food that never ends. His well never runs dry. He feeds me apples out of his own hand. Because I've submitted, I have liberty within his authority to go every place in the world. I'm not hindered in any way. The difference is you chose freedom, what you wanted. I chose liberty to be on the master's care. And
Man,
as I sit back on that, that visual to me, I can see the two, the skinny little horse that's just barely making it, and the sleek, strong horse that submitted to the master's training. Anyhow.
That's great. That's good.
So
I may steal that and use it.
Go ahead. Here it is right here. I got my notes. What else?
I've had people periodically say, man, I'm going to preach that sermon.
Uh-huh.
To which I always say, hey, if that bullet fits your gun, shoot it.
Shoot it. Absolutely. Go ahead. What's
I got another true story.
Good.
Years ago, I did talk my wife into going on a canoe trip. Now, you got to understand that she is basically a lover of the great in of doors.
In of doors.
That's right.
Okay.
And so I was telling her, some other couple of friends of ours, we had talked about going canoeing. So I talked her into it, and she said this, okay, if you promise we won't tip over. I said, well, I'll promise that we won't get wet unless we deliberately want to get wet. I said, I'll go out on a limb with that. So anyway, she agreed to go. So there were 4 couples of us from the church. We went down into Arkansas to early one Saturday morning. Beautiful day, beautiful morning, and just right for canoeing. There were 4 couples, and we went on the Buffalo River.
Oh, love
and
the
it was
Buffalo.
flowing. It was flowing good, not super heavy, but you didn't have to paddle that much. And so, man, we were fishing, we were laughing, we were joking, we were splashing each other and just having a good time. And about noon, we stopped on a sandbar. The girls had fixed some picnic sandwiches, and we stayed on that sandbar for quite a while, swimming and fishing and playing and laughing and talking, and had about 2 hours to go after we left that sandbar. And after we got back on the river, we were coming to a place near Hasty, Arkansas.
Okay.
And we started seeing signs along the side that cautioned us about a low water bridge, and said that we would have to get out and portage our canoes. And so 3 of the couples did just that. Well, we all got out of our canoes, But Jack and Becky decided they would stay in the water a little bit longer and just walk toward the bridge. And I don't know what happened. Could have happened to any of us. But they got into the current. And Becky was on the front of the canoe. And she got into the current as we're approaching this low water bridge. A couple of us already had our canoes on the other side. And she got sucked up against that low water bridge. She's holding on the canoe. She knew immediately that she was in trouble.
Yeah.
Because she was sucked into that whistle that went through that bridge. And so she immediately yelled out for her husband, and he's a big old stocky sucker. And she said, Jack, I'm in trouble. She's holding on the canoe. Jack yelled for us guys. Jim and I came back, and we immediately got on the bridge. We're in about a foot of water, maybe 18 inches. And we get a hold of Becky's arms, and we're holding her up. And literally, Tom, the only thing above water is her face. And she's being sucked into that whistle going through that bridge.
Yeah.
And the whistle, culvert, whatever you call them down here.
Yeah.
And we're holding her up. Dwight comes, and Dwight's another stocky guy. So he and Jack began working with Becky. Now, I'm telling you, the flow of that water was so strong, it literally sucked most of her clothes off. It sucked Dwight's watch off of his arm. They're pushing. They're trying to get her released. Jim and I have her arms holding her up. She's beginning to take on water. The other ladies are standing over to the side having a prayer meeting.
Yeah.
Some other canoeists come by. Different people offer to help. But I'm telling you, for about the next 7 to 8 minutes, they were so grueling. At one time, Becky said, I am so tired, just let me go. And I said, no, we can't let you go. We don't know what's under there. We don't know if there's debris. We don't know if there's a wire mesh. We don't know what's under there. We are not going to let you go. You're going to make it. And we would encourage Becky. The ladies were praying. And Tom, Jack and Dwight had tried everything in every way to push her down and back. And that force that was sucking her down was so strong. Now, what happened was a man came across the bridge, said nothing. He was about the size or bigger than Jack and Dwight. He bent down and pushed her back. But here's what it felt like. It felt like in a moment that flow stopped. And simultaneously, that man, we don't have any idea who he was, walked across the bridge, bent down in between Jack and Dwight, did what they had been doing for about 7 or 8 minutes, pushed her back. Jim and I pulled her up. All this happened in a second.
Yeah.
Simultaneously as we pulled her up to safety. The girls quickly ran with towels and covered her up. Someone else came and offered their um, van to us so that we could get back to our vehicles. Becky ended up spending 4 days in the hospital.
Wow.
Because of her chest being bruised.
Oh, sure.
And taking on water into her lungs. And we since many times have surmised we don't have any idea who this was. No, wait a minute. We think we do know. We think we do know.
Yeah.
We think God intervened.
Yep.
We think God stopped the flow of that water for a moment when he sent an angel because the man got up and kept on walking.
Wow.
And so we think God intervened. I use that illustration many times, Tom, to say, come on, get up on the bridge. There are people whose souls are being sucked down with a massive force toward eternal destruction. And it behooves the church to have a prayer meeting. It behooves the church to get hold of people's arms and get hold of people's hearts. It behooves the church to get down into the water and to use their strength to do everything we possibly can to help bring that person to safety and to get them released. But what must happen is that God's got to intervene in order to bring that soul to eternal safety.
Oh, that's
so I love
good.
that illustration.
That's
I've told
good.
it many times.
That's good.
That's great. This is fun.
This is fun. I got to close this with this one, though, because it just goes right along
All right,
with it.
good.
I got to tell a true story about Rob. Now, Rob got, he was a druggie. He was a down and outer. And it was during the Jesus People movement of the 70s that a lot of his friends came into the church. And Rob fought it. And one day he finally said, okay, I'll go to church. But he dressed in the stinkiest clothes, the ugliest clothes. And he had these tennis shoes that he must have soaked in urine or something. It was terrible. And he walked in. And there was a lady named Gladys Drolson. And she was your height, but half your weight. She's just a little bitty slip of a gal. And when Rob walked in, she walked over and stuck out her hand and shook his hand and said, Rob, welcome. I just want to let you know you're welcome. Well, he thought, oh, that's okay. The next week he decided to show up dressed the same way. And little Gladys Drolson walked up and she wrapped her arm around his neck and said, Rob, thanks for coming back. We love you. We thank you so much. That went on for 6 months. Rob wouldn't change his clothes, wore those stinky shoes. But 6 months later, he walked in, had a button-down shirt, had shaved, had showered, had leather shoes on, and a paper bag under his arm. And after the singing song at this time, he asked the pastor, Pastor, can I share something? And pastor said, okay. And Rob walked up and he turned to the congregation and he reached in that bag and he grabbed out those 2 stinky, dirty tennis shoes and he laid them on the altar. And he said, friends, you loved me to Jesus. I'm leaving my old dirty tennis shoes on the altar and I'm living a new man. That's what we want to do, is love people to Jesus.
That's great.
Like your story, you just do what you have to. But it's the love. They'll know we're believers.
Yep.
By our love for one another.
That's a great story.
I love the stories that talk about that. And we can keep going on
Oh,
and
man,
on.
I've got tons of stories. I love to tell stories. And they're parables. They're earthly stories with a heavenly meaning.
That's it. And that's the thing, is we want to, and that's the thing that will draw people. Not just a sermon, but an illustration that helps them understand what the word is saying.
That's great.
That's all they're there for.
Thanks for sharing those.
Thanks. Yeah, this was fun. And thanks for joining us. And join us next week. We're on Branson Gospel TV. That's a brand new thing for us. And so check that out. We're trying to spread the word. Please spread the word for us, because
You're entitled to our opinion.
Friends, you can contact us at yourentitled777@gmail.com. Also on Facebook.com, You're Entitled to Our Opinion. Jay's video blog, Here's Hope America, can be found on Facebook.com, Here's Hope America. Tom's blog, Durf Nerfel's Thought of the Day, you can find at Facebook.com/Durf Nerfel's TOTD, but also you can sign up to receive it by email on the website durfnerfel.us. Share our opinion. As with all podcasts, you, our listeners, are the way people join us as you share the podcast with them. You're Entitled to Our Opinion has been recorded at Flat Frog Studio, Hollister, Missouri.